Alrighty, I just want to document a few aspects of the construction of the case of the McGrath Mini amplifier. This is prototype number 2 that I have in front of me here. And before I get it fully built up, I wanted to just make sure I've got record of all the various measurements and some of the details of construction to make sure I remember how to build one of these, since I'm going to be sending this one out as a product, looks like, and so I won't have it around to base the next one on. So anyway, yeah, it's of course made out of 7¼ inch lumber. I've used pine here. I'd be just as happy using poplar, but so far both of my prototypes have used pine, and it's a little bit under 9¼ or 9¾ wide, as you can see. I mean, it's more like 9 11/16 technically, but I suppose my spec is probably really 9¾ Okay, but reality is this one's 9 11/16. It is square. In other words, the height is also that same 9 and nowhere near 11/16, but I'm sure I was trying to make it the same. That would be the intent anyway, that it's square. Oh, it's a little closer on this side. Anyway, that's that deal. Let's see. Some details about the back. The little plastic dealy thing here, of course, it's made of 2 layers of plexiglass epoxied together with the printed layer on printed on clear acetate in the middle there. 2 screw holes, which are at 6½ inches, looks like. The thing itself is about 7¼ wide, and let me see here. A little under an inch tall. So, you know, I probably meant for it to be an inch. Some of the internal details are kind of important, and this is what I really wanted to make sure that I remember. I'll just take a picture of all the different mounting blocks under there. These blocks down here for the power supply assembly to mount on. Everything's glued, of course. The blocks for the speaker. This top piece of 1x2 here, as you can see, I've carved out down to a certain level for the speaker to fit into. I used the table saw as kind of a router to make that cut by progressively cutting to that depth, obviously, and then moving it a blade width over and a blade width over. 4 or 5 of those cuts made the depth of that cut. That's how I did that. But of course, on the front side, this just looks like a unblemished 1x2 across there that the speaker panel is mounted to. You can see the speaker panel is fully inset inside there. This shape is what do we got there? 1½ high. That's to fit a bud box, which is 1.5, or maybe it's 1.25, I don't know, but it fits nicely in there, by 8 inches wide, which insets nicely. But as you can see, it fits a little loosely, so I've had to glue these bits of insulated electrical wire in here on each side in order to jam that box into the center position and hold it cleanly, which, you know, I'll probably come up with a nicer solution for how to do that in the future, but that's one way or another necessary to take in the width a little bit so that it mounts tightly and firmly centered. So that's an important detail. At the bottom here you can see that I also had to carve out this block for the flange of the speaker to fit under. That's not a you know, a table saw nice curved cut like the one at the top. It's simply a squared notch because that block's not visible from the front at all. And you can see that I've got the grill is wedged between the speaker and the plywood, the metal grill. And I don't even remember, looks like I've got a screw holding it in place. I guess I have just that one, and then the speaker screws hold the rest. On some of these, I've epoxied the grill to hold it, but I think on this one, I don't even know. I think it's just held by the speaker force, and it would come out if I removed the speaker. But anyway, here's my side blocks for the power supply. I've got these lines to mark where the screw holes come through, because other than that, it's kind of a little free floating as far as front to back. This is the power supply module. It's a whole bunch of rather complicated block work and cutout work. As you can see, this Chinese switching power supply fits under this little slot here, fits under this raised screw, like so, and that holds the front edge down, and then screws would lock it into place there. So I'll again probably come up with some better mounting technologies in the future. All these cutouts are necessary for the speaker clearance. These mount with those screw holes. This is just your L aluminum, but again I had to cut out here to make room for the IEC connector. And it looks like the particular one I'm using, I actually probably could have gotten away with not cutting down that plywood. I guess I just wanted to make sure I had room. And some of them are bigger and bulkier than others. But anyway, that's what we're looking at there. I'm going to put the power supply back in there so we can see the full clearance situation when it goes into the unit. Rides on the blocks, and as you can see, I use the line to find where the screws are going to poke through. And with the cutouts in the plywood, and then the way the corner of the power supply is in there, if you can see that aluminum angle corner of the power supply, there's just enough room for the speaker with all that cutout stuff. So that's why all that rigmarole was necessary. But yeah, that's how that all mounts. So I think that covers the internal details. Then of course there's the stand down here. I have a postscript file of these hearts, but the actual dimensions are, let me see here, okay, it's 5 inches wide by about 3 inches tall, this plywood piece, basic half-inch plywood there. Mounts in dowel holes into the two legs, of course, which are cut at angles a little bit less than the full width of the 7 1/4. They are about probably 6 1/4 before I started sanding and rounding, and necking down to looks like 4 3/4 at the bottom. Just more 1x2 there. You can see I drilled a pilot hole all the way through, and then a wider hole sunk to a certain distance for the dowel to fit in. I'm using what is that? Are we looking at a 1/2 inch dowel there, or 3/8? It's pretty wide. It's almost a 1/2 inch dowel, I think. And it just gets enough friction by being jammed in there. There's no trick to that. Screwed onto the back and glued, of course, so it's more glue than screw, but the screws help. And of course these are countersunk screws, and they go to the sheetrock type screws that go into the bottom here. I think they're number 6 by 1 1/4 fine thread, and these are you know, chromed screws of whatever size. Larger than number 4 though, probably number 6 by 1/2 inch or something like that. Well, they'd be more than 1/2 inch, 3/4 to fit through the dowel and into the plywood. Overall, that must be an inch wide. But that's the picture on that. Let's see if there's anything else I'm going to need to know about how to build these once this one goes out the door. That should about do it, I suppose. So that is the overview of the casework on the McGrath Mini version 2.